So let's talk D&D classes. First off the bat, we've got to talk about the muscle-bound, oiled-up Rage Machine, also known as the Barbarian. The Barbarian is the tank class with the highest HP in the game, whose rage gives them Modern Warfare 2's Painkiller perk. The Barbarian playstyle is essentially running in, getting close, and unleashing your daddy issues on your enemy. This is done with the help of their subclasses such as Fuck Taking Damage, Fuck Dying, Glorified Furry, Random Bullshit Go, and so many more. Now the Barbarian also gets some really spicy abilities like getting extra crit damage, or as I like to call it, critting on a crit, and even getting the ability to bump 2 of their stats way above 20, which is pretty cool if you get to that level. There's a good bit more the Barbarian can do, but that's about enough for this video. So let's talk D&D classes. Last time we talked Barbarian, this time we're going to be talking the Bard. Whilst the Barbarian is an all up in your face class, the Bard is sticking it in the back. This is because the Bard is a support caster. So while the Wizards are throwing around testicular torsions, the Druid is embracing their persona, the Warlock's throwing out
Eldritch,
and the Cleric's busy being the Bard is there inspiring everyone and laying dragons. Bard subclasses range from you want to play a fighter, you just want fireball, abrupt live performance, whispers unspeakable secrets. The Bard is a social class of D&D, giving you jack of all trades, which gives you a bonus on your skills, and expertise that make your proficiencies double proficiencies, making Bard the thought class. Let's talk D&D classes. This time we're going to be talking the Cleric. The Cleric is D&D's white mage, but you don't want to fuck with this white mage. At lower levels, the Cleric is an absolute beast with its spells, because Inflict Wounds is nasty and Spirit Guardians essentially gives you a stand. The class also has some of the best abilities in the game, like being a prepared caster, which means you can change your spells every time you rest, having Turn Undead, which means you can make undead run away like little bitches. They can also speak directly with their gods and have some of the best weapon and armor proficiencies of any spellcaster in the game. They also have a lot of subclasses such as Burn in Holy Fire, Mercy from hit game Overwatch, Deus Vault motherfucker. Wow, I nearly cut myself on that edge. So remember, next time someone asks you to play a cleric, don't bring out the cutesy anime healer mage, bring out your inner WoW raid healer. Because on the surface, the cleric may look like your standard white mage, but it's the white mage that will fuck you up. Let's talk D&D classes again. This time we're going to be talking about the Druid. If the Bard was a dedicated support and the Cleric was the support that can fuck you up, the Druid is the tank support, which is thanks to Druid's Wild Shape ability, which lets them turn into animals, and later get the ability to cast spells as these animals. Like the Cleric, the Druid has some nasty spells like Conjure Animals that lets you summon 16 Velociraptors, Healing Spirit lets them summon a spirit who can heal anyone within a 30-foot radius of them, and Heat Metal is pretty metal. The Druid also has some pretty interesting subclasses such as Arsonist.
I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees.
Why yes, I'm going to summon 28 snakes again. You embrace your fursona. Now on the surface, the Druid might not look that strong, but if you give it a chance, you will realize how powerful this class is. Now go forth and conjure 16 Velociraptors to annoy your DM, and make sure you play a Shepherd Druid so they're even better. It's time to talk D&D classes again. This time we're going to be talking the Fighter. Now some people consider the Fighter the basic bitch of D&D, and to that I say, enjoy your caramel macchiato. The Fighter is D&D's primary warrior class, and it is built for that role, with it getting more attacks per turn than any other class, being able to revitalize themselves with Second Wind, alongside getting additional actions, the ability to reroll saves, and the ability to crit on 19s. The Fighter also has some pretty interesting subclasses like
I am the Samurai.
Hey, we heard you like Fighter, so here's some more Fighter. I'm sorry, you only get 2 arcane shots, the Strength Intelligence build, and these abilities should have just been part of the class from the get-go. Now, although the Fighter doesn't have the speciality of flair of some of the other martial classes, it's still a really fun class to play and has a lot of versatility in combat. Or you can just multi-class into it to grab Action Surge and then cast Fireball 2 times as a wizard. Well, it's time to talk about D&D again. Let's talk about D&D's Master of Fisting, the Monk. Where the other classes need weapons and magic to fight, all the Monk needs their 2 fists. Alongside their proficiency with their hands, they also get unarmored defense like the Barbarian, but whereas the Barbarian's unarmored defense comes from them being thick, muscly boys, the Monk dodges like it's a veteran from a FromSoft game. The Monk also has the main gimmick of key points, which they can spend to do a bunch of different abilities such as stunning enemies, hitting faster, stunning enemies, catching arrows, and did I mention stunning enemies? The Monk also has a wide variety of subclasses that let them do a bunch of different things like copying Dragon Ball Z a little bit too much. Hey DM, can I be a ninja? Come on guys, I'm totally sober.
A foolish samurai warrior.
Honestly, I don't really have a good joke for this one, but I think this says enough for it. The Monk is probably one of my favorite classes, and you can have a lot of fun with it. And if the GM doesn't feel like it fits their campaign setting, jump over the table and punch them in the face, like a monk would. It's that time to talk about D&D classes again. This time we're going to be talking the Paladin. The Paladin is like if the Cleric and Fighter got together, had a baby, and listened to way too much power metal. So unlike the Fighter, the Paladin can actually cast spells, though most of them are buff spells or healing spells, but I mainly just use it to cast smites. Which segues perfectly into the Paladin's main ability, Divine Smite, which lets them bitch slap their enemies with the Wrath of God. And their sheer Chad energy provides buffs to the party when they're nearby. In terms of subclasses, you have...
For the grace, for the might of the Lord, for the home of the holy.
God save the Queen. So I'm not really into fighting all that much. I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. And you just wanted to be evil. The Paladin is one of my favourite classes to play just thanks to its oaths and how much they add to roleplay. That and you'll be rolling more dice than the Wizard who's spamming Fireball. It's D&D time, let's talk about everyone's favourite arrow shooting class, the Ranger. The Ranger is a lot like the Paladin except you replace the Cleric with the Druid and you also throw in a bit of Rogue. And before a certain book came out, the Ranger was a bit stinky in 5th edition. The class is kitted out like Bear Grylls, so you'll be able to help your party travel through any environment. The Ranger also has the ability to direct their hatred towards one specific type of enemy. And for subclasses we've got Legally Distinct Monster Hunter, How to Train Your Dragon. You get a friend. Oh cool, you can just become Nightcrawler with this one. Now the Ranger did have a bit of a rocky start with 5th edition, but I think it's definitely shown itself as a great class. Let's talk D&D class again, this time the class that commonly gets misspelled as Rouge, the Rogue. Stealth is the Rogue's bread and butter, which means it gets abilities that boost its stealth, like having expertise so your stealth skill can be even higher, cunning action so you can run or hide as a bonus action, and lastly Thieves Tool so you can pick locks. The Rogue also has an interesting mix of subclasses like, what if I stabbed you really hard?
I want to be ninja.
So you want to play Sherlock Holmes? And the classic Thief. At higher level, the Rogue gets so good at dodging attacks it's essentially like your father dodging child support. Maybe that's why people play the edgy road brooding in a dark corner. It's time to talk D&D, let's talk everyone's favourite magical Nepa baby, the Sorcerer. If Clerics get their magic from their faith, and Druids get it from their connection with nature, and the Wizard gets it from years of dedication, the Sorcerer gets their magic because someone in their bloodline should boink to a magical creature. And being inherently magic, the Sorcerer gets access to meta magic which lets them alter their own spells, which have a multitude of effects such as, I cast my spell faster, I cast my spell quietly, and I cast my spell twice. Now, Sorcerer's subclass is directly tied to where they got their magical heritage from, so let's go over some of those. One of your relatives definitely fucked a dragon. Darkness, edge, edge, edge. So this one gives you cleric spells, and lol so random. The Sorcerer is probably one of my favourite classes in 5th edition, although I prefer the Wizard way more. Let's talk D&D classes again, this time one of my personal favourite classes, the Warlock. Where other casters get their magic from hard work, faith or some dragon's nuts, the Warlock gets theirs from making a deal with a magical creature, which gives the Warlock some unique traits like fewer spell slots but they're more powerful, as well as getting their magic back after taking a shit instead of having to sleep through the whole night. They also receive a gift from their arcane sugar daddy which include a book, a little guy, or a sword. They also get Eldritch Invocations which let them upgrade their gifts, learn some free spells, or customize their Eldritch Blast like it's a new weapon in COD. Warlock subclass is represented being you got your magical powers from, so let's go over some of those. Hey, I just made a deal with the devil. Sort of intrusive thoughts. Hello, unspeakable horrors that will eventually traumatize me. And a magic cadaver. Warlock is the class you can make a lot of fun and interesting builds with, but I usually just default to the magic sword. It's time to grab your pointy hat and grab your big stick because we're talking the Wizard. To start off, these massive nerds carry around spellbooks, which let them copy down spells from other spellbooks or spell scrolls, which makes them uniquely strong compared to other casters. And once per day they can regain spell slots on a short rest. So take that, sorcerers! A Wizard's subclass represents the type of magic they're specialized in, so let's go over some of those.
I can see the future!
I summon my monster to attack position, the healer with bad timing, and Fireball. The Wizard are probably one of the best classes in 5e due to the sheer variety of things you can do with their spells, or you can just cast Fireball. It's time to throw out that old player's handbook and boot up D&D Beyond because we're going to be talking the Blood Hunter. The Blood Hunter are the homebrew class officially supported in D&D Beyond, created by a small voice actor you might have heard of called Matt Mercer. The class revolves around magic blood and gives itself buffs by giving itself minor debuffs. Now let's take a quick look at the subclasses because this class only has like 4. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters.
Toss a coin to your witcher.
The Timu Warlock. The Furry. Now it's probably likely we won't ever see another subclass come for the Blood Hunter, but at least we can enjoy what we have of the class. It's time to talk about our final class from D&D 5th edition, so pull out your copy of Eberron Rising from the Last War. We're talking the Artificer. If you like magic items, the Artificer is able to make their own. You're also able to store spells and items, which means you can basically make grenades. The Artificer can also hot swap between tool proficiencies and give themselves expertise on their tools. Now similarly to the Blood Hunter, the Artificer only has 4 subclasses, but it will likely get more in the future. And those subclasses are...
Full Metal Alchemist.
Magical Iron Man. I cast gun. And here's my robot dog sidekick. The Artificer is a great addition to D&D and I hope that we get more classes like it. Anyway, thanks for watching and I will be doing a longer video down the line, hopefully it should be out by the end of the month.